very good evening to each and every one of you joining me, Miss Belinda Scandal, all alone this week for an episode of Your Manchester. I'll do it with the other hand as well, Your Manchester. Yes, I am on my own, everybody. Not to give too much away, but our Shel's very, very busy with a project, everybody, that's coming your way in a few weeks' time. And, well, we've given her a little day off because she's working very, very hard, everybody. She is. And she's also had the child has also had to come home from school as well, everybody. So it's a bit of a nightmare for her. Just when she thought she was getting her freedom back, as you found out from the episode before last, she's had to go back to being looking at. She's doing this Joe Wicks thing as well. Now, how many of you out there are doing this Joe Wicks thing? It's basically cooking food, everybody. Not like taking something off the shelf and put it in the oven, like from scratch. Actually, properly from scratch. Joe Wicks. Who thought Joe Wicks would be the new Fanny Craddock, everybody? Who thought it would happen? We have got a fantastic show lined up for you this week, everybody. We really have. We've got tonight, we've got a DJ coming your way in a minute. He's going to be and all that stuff that goes with it. And we're also going to be talking mental health this week because a lot of you have been in contact and a lot of you wanted to talk about mental health and how it's affecting you and possible ways that you can get out of this little sort of the doldrums, as I call them, everybody. We've also got questions galore for you as well. So if there is any questions that you want to get in contact with us with, there is one lady who can help you with that, and that's our Victoria. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right, Flemmer. Now, what's the topic of conversation for this week?
So we're talking about Christmas. Has it been cancelled? Will you get to spend it with your family? Are you a bigger family than 6? Are you quite happy with the rule of 6? That would be different for everyone.
It's a bit freaky, isn't it? It really is. I wonder, Christmas has got to happen, though, hasn't it? I mean, other than the fact it's a party, it's also a religious occasion as well, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I think Christmas is such a big occasion. For me, it's still going to happen, but we'll just see how it happens. And I think people will be quite inventive about it, but we want to know what you think you're going to do. Indeed.
I mean, there's always the issue, of course, is whether you're with you've got 2 families. You know, if you're married and you've got one family and another family, then are you allowed to see both of them, or do you have to see one, or do you have to choose from the other? Let us know your thoughts, everybody, because we are really interested in knowing exactly what your thoughts are about that. This is how you find us. Well, it is now time for our very first guest this evening. He's working his way right up with his boom, 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 boom. Let's have a look, first of all, at his lovely little music video, everybody. Get that. Here we go. So that is a track called Feelings, everybody, and that was brought to you by our lovely first guest. This is Brandon Forbid. Good evening, Brandon.
Hi, gorgeous. How are you?
How are you? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm great. I've just had a shower. I've just done my makeup. I'm feeling great.
Oh, I can't be doing with men wearing makeup. It's not natural, is it?
Hey. You've got to get with the time. The same.
Well, you're looking rather marvellous. You really are. Tell us a little about your music then. First of all, what's your inspirations behind your music?
Inspirations. I started producing when it was like 2014, and I had a few years off, and then this is going to sound really soft, but I have this really great group of friends who are also music producers and DJs as well, and they were like, you need to get back into it because you're talented, and I was like, you know what? So my inspirations are very much the gay community. Anything gay, anything queer, anything camp is right up my street. I love it. They're the kind of stuff that keeps me going and gives me energy to make music.
And if somebody wanted to get into DJing, because a lot of people have been doing it in the spare time, haven't they? Including one Gok One, everybody. Now that is hilarious. If you've not seen that, he basically does DJing from his kitchen, doesn't it? Yeah. How would you recommend that people get into DJing?
It depends. You've got to kind of have a passion for music, I think, because my parents, they both they love music. They love like old 80s and 90s R&B, all the old dance records. So I kind of grew up around music every single day. So you've got to kind of be around it. But I mean, if you've got a passion for it, go for it. If you've got a good ear, good taste, you can develop good taste, go for it. The world needs more music. The world needs more art.
Where is that accent from, please?
If I get asked this question one more time, I'm going to use the definition of character. I'm originally from Leeds, but I'm currently living in Hull because a lot of families here.
Have you disappeared there? Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I just didn't expect to see myself there at that point. That's all. There we go. So you're from Hull?
Yes, I'm from Leeds. Well, I'm from Leeds. I'm living in Hull right now.
And you're still not living. You're not still living in Hull, are you? You're part of Manchester, born and bred now, aren't you?
No, I'm from Leeds.
Leeds?
Yeah, I'm from
How
Leeds.
fantastically wonderful. Tell us about your latest track then.
Latest track, the one I just had with feelings. It originally started out as, do you know the song Hallucinate by Dua Lipa?
Oh, yes, I do.
It started off as like a little fun remix of that, and then I was like, actually, no, this is kind of fun. I want to turn it into an original. So I got into original. I thought I want to release it independently, and here we are. I got the song feelings.
Oh, look at you.
A little plaque. I'm just doing a little.
Where are you going to be putting that plaque then? Is that going on? Where's it going to go?
God knows. Me and my housemate just hooked it all over. I mean, I could put it like right here and just keep it for like any other interviews you want to do, but I'd have to get some like tack. So yeah, I'm gonna put it,
Bit of tack, love. A bit of tack. You'll be grand with it, won't you? Hey, I tell you. So you've got another track coming out, though, haven't you? That's already being talked about, like in massive international circles.
Yes. So this one is pretty much like my best work so far. It's called Diamond Heart, and that's coming out in October, like the first few weeks of October. That's with a lovely vocalist called Samuel Pack. We wrote the song together, and it's the first time I've kind of really been able to put my emotions into a dance record, because I think a lot of the time, dance is just about going for it and just having a great time, but this one was different for me. So I'm really excited to put it out and show people.
Now, what's the difference between DJing, say, in the UK and the Netherlands and Belgium? Because you've worked over there as well, haven't you?
Yeah, that's right. The first time I did the Netherlands was really fun. That was with my friends. That was in this little club. It was just purple lights on the ceiling. That's it. It was just dark and dingy. That was really sweaty, and those are the kind of best like intimate gigs where everyone's sweating and going for it. Kind of like Eagle in Manchester.
Oh, nice and classy.
Yeah, I can't tell you. Funny story about Belgium was the first time I DJed and I had pyrotechnics, so there was fire, and I didn't know they were working. So as I was DJing, I'm like, going for it, and then this flame comes right up next to me. I swear, if you see like my eyebrow here, I swear it still hasn't grown back.
Bit of a nightmare. Technical things like that must happen to you, though, hey?
Yeah, you've got to deal with it. You roll with it. It's just part of the fun. It's all just part of the fun.
And what's the worst incident that's ever happened to you while you've been DJing then?
Do you know, honestly, the worst thing that can happen to a DJ is really bad requests. Really bad requests. There's a club that I do in Hull called Fuel, and I do Wednesdays there, and it's kind of pop, dance, stuff like that. And this one person came and was like, "Do you have any Slipknot?" And I was like, "Slipknot? Like, read the room."
Crikey. Slipknot! I can't even think of any music by them. I can't even think of anything.
There's one song of Slipknot that I'm partial to, but I was just kind of like, I've got California Girls on right now, it's not going to go well.
So how would you describe the genre of your music then?
Genre of my music, you're probably best to say electronic, but I'd say more so house and dance music. That's kind of where my is. But
I'm trying to sound interesting there, but I actually know nothing more than the 80s and the 70s, as I'm sure you've seen from my DJing.
Evelyn Champagne King, they're my favourites, absolutely.
When you're releasing a track, Brandon, how do you go about deciding on what you're going to do with that track? How do you go about deciding what you're bringing out for the best of it?
Yeah, you've got to kind of, I think when I was first starting out as a producer, I would make a song and be like, I need to put this out. But sometimes it's better to get maybe 5 or 6 tracks or just a body of work and go, which of these songs is the best? Do you know what I mean? And then saying, is this going to work commercially? And then you've got to kind of think, the kind of music you want to put out, is that what you want people to know you for? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So in a few years' time, I remember the DJs of Wigan Pier, and they were like celebrity heroes. Is this the type of fame that you'd like to get to?
To be honest, fame-wise, obviously I'd love some money right now. I'm out of work, so Corona's ruined my life, so I'd need some money. But I'm just kind of enjoying at the moment, really just focusing on improving myself musically and building like a name for myself. And it seems to be working so far. I'm just really enjoying the stuff that I'm doing right now. But I'm just kind of focusing on that instead of going, okay, let's go focus on the fame. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, the voices that appear in some of these tracks, I love the vocals in some of these tracks. Are any of them particularly well known to us?
So the one in Feelings is a song by Black Box. It's an old Black Box song called Strike It Up. And I was watching the old TV program, the TV program Pose. I was watching that, and it came on in the background, and I was like, "That's a banging song. I love that." So I looked it up, and I found the vocal, and I got an acapella of it. And then when I was making Feelings, obviously because it started off as a Dua Lipa remix, I was flicking through my acapellas folder, dragged it in, and I was like, "Oh, this works. This works perfectly."
And your new single's going to be out on the 9th of October, isn't it? And what do we expect to hear on there then?
That one is quite emotional. Kind of think it's the way that I describe it is a song that you can dance to while you're crying in the club.
Right. Oh, and you're not giving much more away than that, are you not?
I kind of want to keep it secret, but I'm not that big. It's going to be fun. I think everyone's going to love it. Everyone that I've shown so far has like been blown away. So I'm very excited.
Where will that be available?
It's going to be available everywhere. So that'll be Apple Music, iTunes, the vinyl shops down the road. It's going to be absolutely everywhere.
So you really have made it then, haven't you? You've done really, really well. Where did you start?
I started making music on my old broken laptop in my dad's house. And because my parents were very supportive of my music, so they got me they converted the spare room into a studio for me. They got me some speakers. They were like, okay, going for it. And then now I'm living independently. I took it all with me.
Well, so you must have lots and lots of equipment then.
I used to have so much equipment, but then I found creatively I kind of had option paralysis. So I had this, and I was like, right, what do I do? But I find sometimes creatively I work better when I have less.
So what do you start with now? I'm trying to get to how you build these massive tracks that hit the clubs out. Do you start with a beat? Look at me looking trendy. Or do you start with a vocal or an instrumental of something? What's the word? How does it begin?
How does it begin? Started on a track. It can honestly depend on every track. So some tracks I've started with a beat. Some tracks I've heard a sound and I've thought I can build an entire song around that. Sometimes I make songs and it sits in my hard drive for about 3 months because it just doesn't go anywhere. But it all depends. Most of the time I will sit down and write a beat and write a melody and then see where I can go from there.
Yeah, and as an artist, how do you decide when it is ready to be heard by other people?
Tricky question. I've kind of tried to disconnect myself from overanalyzing my music because I used to get in a headspace of is this good enough for people to hear? Is it finished? And spending time on it. So now I've kind of conditioned myself to, once I've started a song, make sure I finish it. Because I think a lot of producers and artists will relate to having a lot of unfinished work.
It's fantastic. How have you been coping whilst the lockdown was on?
Oh my God, terribly. The first few months were rough, but I think for everyone. And then, like I said, when I was talking to my friends earlier, they really pulled me out of it. I've really kind of turned a leaf. I'm kind of settled into it now. I think it's just kind of like the way of life, I suppose.
Yeah. So you're back working now then, are you?
Oh, I'm still not working.
Still not working.
Yeah.
But I suppose that's the beauty of music though, isn't it? You don't have to be seen to be appreciated for the music that you've got, do you?
That's the beauty of the internet, social media. I can create a presence I can create a presence sat on my living room sofa. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. You been doing any live streams or anything?
Yeah, I did a few for the club Tunnel, rest in peace, in Leeds. We did a few for those, and they were really, really fun. But by the end of it, it was quite nerve-wracking because that was the first time I'd done a live DJ set, and I was on camera for 3 hours. And by the end of it, my cheeks were bright red, forehead was covered in sweat. But then what they see is this.
Yeah.
What I see is just.
It's amazing. So your new single's out on the 9th of October, and that one's called, what's it called?
Diamond Heart.
Lovely. We look forward to hearing that. You're a very wonderful DJ. The performance is there in everything that you do, which is fantastic to see. Brandon Forbin, thank you very much. Mr. Brandon Forbin, everybody, thank you. There we go. So his, like I say, single is available on the 9th of October. It's available on all streaming platforms for everybody to see. And it is absolutely fantastic. Well, there we are. I've done my first interview on my own in about 2 years, everybody. So I think what I fancy now is a little drinky poos. And especially for our Shel, who's feeling a little bit under the weather. Maybe we should have something like, I don't know, a hot drink maybe.
Hello, my loves. It's Charlie Houston Sykes back with Booze and Bites. Now, this week the theme is drinks that warm the cockles, and I know this might seem a little odd coming straight after a mini heatwave, but there is reason. After all, this is Manchester. Come on. 1 minute sunshine and rainbows, the next minute we're talking gale force winds, rain clouds, grey skies. Things can change pretty fast. Give it a week, you'll be thankful. When it came to drinks that warm the cockles, there were a couple of ways we could go for this. And one way would be to go for what we call hard hitters. So those really boozy drinks like the Negroni and the Old Fashioned and the Sazerac that contain primarily just lots of alcohol. But they make me think of drinking them in a cosy bar or round the pub with your friends in front of a log fire. And we're not there yet. What I'm going to talk about are the classic hot drinks that involve hot water. So things like Benny and Hot. If you're from Burnley, you will know what a Benny and Hot is. But a Benny and Hot is Benedictine, lemon and hot water. It has a fantastic history. It originates from Normandy in France and was brought over to Lancashire by the regiments from the First World War, reinforced by the same regiments going to the same part of France in the Second World War. And so it's become an absolute classic and everybody knows it. For me, it's perfect for if you're feeling under the weather. So given what's going around at the minute, if you're not feeling so well, Benny and Hot, that'll sort you out. Kind of tastes a bit like honey and lemon lockets. That's what it reminds me of. The second one to talk about is the classic hot toddy. Now I know everybody kind of thinks it should be whiskey, and whiskey is the classic, but if you don't like whiskey, try it with brandy, try it with cognac, try it with something like rum. If you do it with rum, you can take the honey out and actually put in demerara sugar instead, and you get something that's rounder and softer and actually works really, really well with the rum. Or you could take the honey out and instead put in sugar and then go for something like gin. And that will work really well. Speaking of which, there is of course the Hot Gmt. This kind of was popular a couple of years ago. It's still really, really good, and I cannot recommend it enough. It's one of those when you finished on the Christmas markets and you're freezing cold and you can't face another Glühwein. You want something that's a bit cleaner and a bit lighter, and it's so easy to make at home. You just need to buy some tonic syrup instead of tonic water. Sipsmith do one, Bermondsey tonic water do one. There's loads online, you'll find them dead easy. And you put a 25ml shot, so one shot of that into a glass, obviously a heat-proof glass. Add in 50ml of gin, top it with hot water, and add a little bit of lemon or orange peel, whichever suits your fancy. It's warming, it's clean, it's light, it's not overly heavy, and it's not going to make you feel really full and uncomfortable. The very last one I want to bring up, promise it's the last, was one that started a whole lot of meandering down memory lane for a lot of us on Facebook. And that was the Yates's Blob. Now, I didn't know this, I did a bit of digging, but it dates back to 1884. For me, it dates back to the late 90s, when I would go to Yates's before I went to any other bar or club. It was usually November, December, maybe January, depending on how rich I was. And I would still be going out in tiny heels and a skimpy dress, just carrying my handbag, no coat or anything. Why would I want that? I don't want to lug one of those around with me all night. And so I'd get to the bar and I'd be freezing. And so you'd have a blob to warm you back up. As time went on, it's evolved into a bit of a cough medicine or cold medicine. I'm feeling a bit under the weather, I'll have a blob. But I'd completely forgotten about it. I'd gotten caught up in hot toddies and hot gin and tonics and all the rest of it. I'd forgotten that the blob exists. Now, I don't know if they're still selling it in Yates's. Somebody will have to tell me. But I kind of want to bring it back. If it's not there, can we bring back the blob? Can we make it trendy again? Because I think it's actually kind of a classic. And there's a reason it works. It's not overly alcoholic. It gets you nice and warm. You've basically got your beer coat on for the night. Bring back the blob.
She is synonymous these days for her hashtags, everybody. It is getting crazier and crazier with every single week. Well, we've had smack your mint up, and now we've got bring back the blob. Well, that means all sorts of different things to me in different connotations. It really does. Now, how have you been? Have you all been looking after yourselves and each other? Because that's what's been most important during this tumultuous time, everybody. Now, if you found it a bit of a struggle, which by all accounts a lot of you have, and that's why you've got in contact, this is why we're bringing on our next guest. Now, this is Emma, and she's from a fabulous organisation called ECBC. Welcome, Emma. How are you?
Hi, Linda. You all right?
All right. Tell us about this charity then. Where did it come from, first of all?
So I have anxiety and depression myself, and so I thought I'll just create something to just help other people like me and talk about my story. So it's a volunteer-led organisation, and it just kind of sparked from nowhere. I mean, I had a few glasses of wine and I was just inspired, and it started like as a Facebook group and then like a meetup group, and now it's just an online blog and like resource website. I don't know. It's just literally just happened overnight.
Because it's got a life all of its own now, this. It really is. So many people, when we were talking about mental health and places that, you know, they felt that they were comfortable talking about their mental health and their loneliness and all this. And your name came up so many times, and that's why we wanted to get you on the show.
Oh, that's good to hear. Yeah, well, we try and do what we can, really. All three of us work full time on the side of it, so we're not able to put all our time and energy into it. But we just really wanted to do something to help others who are feeling low, living with a mental illness, and bringing up the spirit of community in Manchester. I mean, there's such a community spirit here. And just really just running with it and spreading awareness about just talking and sharing how you're feeling. As you said, like especially at this moment, like it's been so hard for a lot of people, feeling very isolated and lonely, and it's just using who we can to, you know, be a community together and get through it.
So a lot of people at home now will be thinking, I am feeling very, very low. Now, you as an organisation, what would you just suggest to them to help them out of what I would class as a rut or an anxiety or a depression?
The main thing is I'd always seek professional help where you can. Talk to your GP. We've got resources on our website that helps you, kind of a guide on how to talk to your GP, because it's not easy starting that conversation, especially because you feel like everyone's going to say, no, you're fine. I don't know what's wrong with you, and just kind of be brushed off. But talk to your GP. Ask for help. You can talk to professionals, counselling. I think that's always a good place to start. But as well, talk to people around you, especially like a website like ours. There's other blogs out there that might actually be going through something similar, and just hearing and seeing someone else going through similar things just makes you feel so less alone. So reach out where you can. I know it's easier said than done, but really reach out.
But a lot of people feel that they don't want to go to the doctor because the doctor is just going to prescribe them medication. And we hear so many bad things about the medication. Would you suggest talking to someone's better necessarily than going on medication?
I think it's always said that that's the last resort, I think, because there are so many side effects and no one wants to go on medication as a first thing. I'd say talking therapies help when like mental and well-being, like workshops. There's great other charities like Mind that do workshops first that kind of promote more like talking therapies and self-therapies, the CBT therapy. There's so many different types of therapies out there to try first. I mean, I'm on antidepressants myself, but that was kind of I tried other things first, and I thought, right, well, this is what I'm just gonna have to do to get back on track, and it helped me kind of get back to feeling more like myself again. But every doctor I've spoken to, the last thing they want to do first is just prescribe medication and be like, there's a tick box, done, off you go. But I know there is that stigma attached, and there is people that are worried that they're just going to be like, well, here's some happy pills and move on. But for me, my experience has been that the opposite of that. I kind of first was advised to have counselling and talking therapies, and then along the way it was suggested possibly to look at this at a later date. So yeah, I think there is that feeling. A lot of people are worried that it's just going to be like, well, here you go, and just kind of pushed to one side. But I think it's getting better and better within the medical. I think from my point of view, again, there's other people with different experiences, but I would say try not to let that put you off, because every single doctor is different.
And it's affecting 1 in 4 people, it now says, statistically, 1 in 4 people will suffer with mental health issues. I mean, it's a shocking figure, isn't it? Yeah,
it is. It really is. Like, I think it's shocking because it's taken so long for us to feel okay about talking about it. I mean, there's still people will see kind of you feeling low as a weakness, and it's not a weakness. It's just you're human. Everyone has their good days and their bad days, and it's a mental illness. If you've got a mental illness, it is an illness. And I think, I think more because we're talking more about it, which is great. We're discovering that a lot more people have mental illnesses and they're able to live with a mental illness. But a lot of people, it's still seen as kind of a shame attached to it. Like if you've got a mental illness, it's something to be ashamed rather than, it's natural sometimes, it's something, we're so complex as human beings.
What about self-esteem? Because obviously, as much as people will be suffering with depression and anxiety, I would probably suggest that one of the most heavy hitters of the mental health issues at the moment will be self-esteem issues for people. How can people deal with them situations?
Definitely. Self-esteem is linked to quite a lot of mental illness, and self-love. I mean, at the moment we're doing a campaign about self-love September, because we are often our worst enemies, and we are often telling ourselves that we're not good enough or that we've done something wrong, and we can be so horrible to ourselves, and with that can be the low self-esteem, telling yourself that you're not good enough or you don't look right, or it is ourselves that are telling ourselves that rather than the outside world. So it is hard. That's the hardest bit I think I found through my own therapy, is that self-hatred and trying to fight that inner voice. But through talking therapy and CBT, it is helpful because it can change your way of thinking about it. It doesn't send the bad thoughts away. I still get them, but it's a way of kind of acknowledging them. Okay, I'm feeling like this. Or okay, my brain's telling me this. I'm just going to push that thought to the side and say, no, actually, I'm doing the best I can in this situation at the moment. I am enough. And, it's just finding a way for you to live with that, because it's not going to go away, but it's learning to live with it.
And I suppose a lot of people will want to talk and want to watch your blogs and the stuff that you're doing. Where can people find you?
So our website's www.ecbcmanchester.com. We're all over social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, ECBC Manchester.
It's amazing. You must feel so rewarded for the work that you do.
Yeah, I think to be honest, a little bit, but also I feel it makes me feel better as well if I'm getting those thoughts out there, and it's a way of therapy for me as well to talk about my experience. But yes, it is definitely it's so rewarding when we get messages through to say that we've helped people.
Thank you so much for your time today. Like I say, it is a fantastic thing that you do for people, just being there as a point of call for them, which is fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. It's just having someone to make them feel not alone. Like, it's just someone there, even if we're just behind a screen, it's just someone to talk to, and someone who might be having the exact same experience than you.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Emma. Emma there, everybody from the ECBC. Absolutely fantastic. If you do want to talk, everybody, there is loads of organisations that you can go to and you can talk to them. And we're going to be talking next week about mental health within the service industry. A lot of people have been getting in contact, wanting to talk about how it feels to them going back to work in the service industry now that they can, for most people. But but not knowing what they can do, what they can't do, and it's basically playing on people's head. Tony Cooper will be here next week to talk about that. In the meantime, we have got now our Hayley, and she's telling you about a fantastic program that I'm sure you all know. Da 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 da.
Hi, I'm Hayley and welcome to this week's On The Box. How are we all doing? What have you been watching this week? Drop me a tweet at HeyKate at your MCR and let us know. Now, I want to talk to you about Strictly Come Dancing because it will be back on our screens from the end of October. It will be a shorter series than usual, but hey, it is back. And who do we have competing? We have former Home Secretary Jackie Smith. She's ready for a challenge after winning bronze for Scottish Highland Dancing 50 years ago. Pop star Harvey, Maisie Smith, aka Tiffany Butcher, JJ Chalmers, Jamie Lang of Made in Chelsea, Bill Bailey, the wonderful Nicola Adams, who will be dancing with a same-sex partner after requesting this from producers, Clara Amfo, Ramba Singh, Max George, Jason Bell and Caroline Quentin. Now, the show won't be visiting Blackpool Ballroom this year because of the pandemic. And to make most of the limited space in the studio, tickets will be allocated in groups of 4 this time round for the first time ever due to social distancing. So that allows families and bubbles and households to attend together. Audience members will have to wear plain black face coverings throughout the show's recording and then when on site at Elstree Studios. Contestants will be staying in a hotel for 2 weeks ahead of pre-recording all of the group dances. Bruno's judging role, that will be completely different this year because he can't travel over, sadly. But he'll be involved still. Now, like I said, the show will come on our screens from the end of October and it will be with us until the end of December. So, that's it from me and I will catch you next time. Bye!
Well, ain't that lovely? Strictly's coming back, everybody. I've just realised you've got my flip-flops in. Yes, I don't tend to wear heels when I'm in here, everybody. Vicky, what's been going on the socials this evening?
So we had a few people were guessing the accent. First off, with Forbid, a Hull accent, a Grimsby accent.
It's definitely a proper accent, that, isn't it?
So, people quite enjoyed guessing the accent.
Yeah.
So maybe, can you do any accents?
I can do Scottish.
Go on.
That's good. What other language would you like? Go on, pick one.
Pick anyone.
Yeah.
French.
Oh. There you go. You don't need
accent.
You don't need words of accents, you know.
So also, Lizzie Rudd, it's good to talk, especially on this crazy corona coaster we're all riding.
It really is. Everybody needs to keep talking. That's the trick, I think, of getting through this, isn't it? Just to keep talking.
Definitely. So some real support there for ECBC.
ECBC.
So, and then in terms of Christmas, we had a few people come through on the Instagram story. So you can come through to us in all sorts of ways. The Instagram story is one. We've had Sarah. She said the rule of 6 is probably going to impact her Christmas if it stays the way it is.
It's a nightmare. Absolute nightmare. We've got to get through it. This is the thing. But it's like once a year we have these big occasions, don't we? And we've got to come together somehow. How do we do it?
Then we've got Paul. He said, we've got a bit of time before Christmas. It's a 100-day countdown. So today is 100 days to Christmas. And who knows, things could change between now and then.
100 days till Christmas. Can you fully believe it? And then I can be a ho, ho, ho once more. Hey!
Oh, you're full of the jokes.
No, I'm not, honestly. It's terrible. It's all good fun, isn't it? Plenty of fun to be had. It really has. Anybody else saying anything?
So we've got here we go. Lizzie, she's a fan of Forbid, listened to his music before.
Right.
So she's going to be getting that new single and she can't wait to see where he goes.
Oh.
So we'll see if he's the next big DJ. We've had him here first.
It's good stuff, isn't it? It's good stuff. We are going to be discussing Christmas very, very soon, everybody. So if you've got any qualms or any questions you want answering fully, let us know, everybody. In the meantime, it's hot in here today. It's hot. For a ginger person, I'm sweating, but that's because I'm working, everybody, which is a novel idea. It really is a very novel idea that I'm working. But Mr. Paul Rudd is out and about. He has been today anyway. Where's he been? What's he been saying? And more importantly, what's the weather?
Good evening, Shel and Belle, and welcome everyone to this week's weather forecast with me, Paul Rudd. And guess what, guys? I'm out and about. I've come out of my garden. I'm here at Crompton Moor, and it's stunning. Over there, you can see Manchester city centre. So I'm going to wave over to you now, Shel and Belle. I'm getting closer to you. All right, let's have a look at this week's fantastic weather outlook, and it's going to be glorious. Okay, Thursday is going to be sunny with the temperatures of 17 degrees Celsius. Friday is going to be sunny with the temperatures of 18. Saturday is going to be sunny with the temperatures of 17. And it's going to be a bit cloudy on Sunday with the temperatures of 17 as well. But you know what we do with that cloud? We blow it away and there will be some sun. All right, that's it from me here on my first ever location here at Crompton Moor. Like I said, it's good to bring your families and good for a good stomp. Bring your dogs and have a good walk. Okay, now it's time to hand over back to Shel and Belle live in the studio for this week's episode of Your Manchester.
No Michelle here, everybody. No Michelle at all this week, but she will be back with us in a couple of weeks, everybody. Next week, we have got a special guest host for you. Oh, yes, indeed. The one and only Carol Ann Whitehead will be joining us as my special guest host for that particular week. She's going to be talking to us about a fantastic show that is coming up during next month as well. Like I said, we've also got Tony Cooper, and we're also talking to a fantastic company called Glam Sticks. They're making you walking sticks and basically anything else that you own very, very glamorous. So in the meantime, make sure you check out all our socials. Make sure you tell all your friends to subscribe, tune in, like, love, and all that stuff that you do, you young people on these wonderful things these days. Till then, thanks very much for joining me this week, only on Your Manchester.